Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Leah. If it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads from me. And also go ahead and follow me on Instagram where you can see more of my day-to-day life behind the scenes. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 6 tips to improve your finances. So finances have been super important to me in 2019. I have made so many improvements. I have paid off thousands of dollars of debt, and I am currently on my own debt-free journey, and I have paid off a ton of debt. I've really just changed my whole mentality as it pertains to money, and I've been able to see a lot of the fruit of my labor. So I wanted to make this video for you guys to ultimately encourage you, because I know sometimes with finances, it can seem very daunting, and it can seem like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so can do this because they have more money than me, or they have more to work with, or they're smarter, or they came from a different background. But in actuality, there's so much that can be learned just from changing our mentalities, changing our perspectives, and actually educating ourselves about finances. You know, I didn't grow up learning a whole lot about finances, so I've really taken it upon myself to teach myself and learn in 2019, and not have a mentality of, you know, I can't do this, or I don't know about this, or thinking that it's like financial freedom is something that I personally am not gonna be able to attain. I had to change the narrative that I told myself, and I've been able to see such a shift in my mentality around money. It's crazy. So I wanted to share my perspective and some tips that I have learned and I've been utilizing that have helped me tremendously. And I'm hoping that they will help encourage you on your financial journey as well. Tip number 1 is to have a goal in mind. That might sound minor, but you'd be surprised. So many people don't actually have a goal for their finances. So the first thing and the easiest thing to do is to set goals. So that can be something like paying off your car loan, or paying off your student loans, or let's say saving up to take a vacation, or saving up to buy a house. Also, to be financially free. And I think that, you know, we don't learn this in the school system, but financial freedom is attainable. And what does that look like? So for me, financial freedom looks like not having to work if I don't want to, having wealth that generates itself, a lot of passive income, multiple streams of revenue. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but your average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So maybe a goal is to start a side hustle or something of that sort. People might think, oh, you know, it's almost 2020. It's too late for me to get started. We got to stop telling ourselves these narratives. You can get started. You can be successful. And the only thing that's in the way is you. We can be our biggest self-critic. So set some goals. If you think that you can't pay off your student loan, think again. So you really have to think about what you want. For me, I don't like the idea of knowing if I lost my job, I would only be okay for a certain amount of months. I like the idea of having financial peace and financial security. So whatever it is that motivates you, think about that. Discover what that is if you don't know, and then set some goals around it. Put timelines on your goals, and you'll be surprised at how motivating it can be. So definitely be sure to set goals. So tip number 2 is to take inventory of your financial situation. I know that people say out of sight, out of mind, and that's not really, I mean, it's true to a degree, but even if it's out of mind and out of sight, it doesn't mean that it's not out there and it's real, you know? So I think we have to really look at what we are dealing with. I know so many times we operate off of using our debit card, and we know how much we have on there, but we might lose track of how many times we're swiping, and that's how you get to the point of overdrafting. So if you are not knowledgeable of what you have to work with, it's going to be very hard to progress. So for me, that looked like getting a piece of paper and writing down how much I owed. So for me, it was a loan. I had a car note, you know, credit cards, and my student loan. When you sit down and you write up how much you actually owe, you know what you're working with. And it's important to be honest with yourself. So you're not going to be able to make progress unless you sit down and get honest with yourself. I think that student loans are something that we can really push to the back of our minds. Like, oh, everyone has them. You know, I'll have them till I'm dead. I'm just going to pay the minimum. I'm going to defer it. But when you really write down how much you owe, you're gonna feel, you know, like I gotta get rid of this. You're gonna be a little bit unsettled. So they say that ignorance is bliss. So we have to educate ourselves about where we personally stand. And just because we don't know where we stand financially doesn't mean that the banks and the financial institutions don't know where we stand. So they know what's going on. They know how much that they are charging us for interest, and they know how much we are going to be paying in addition to the loans itself. So we have to be educated so that we can get ahead of the curve. You know, we spend so much money in interest. It makes sense to educate yourself on where you are so that you know what you're looking at. And so that it's not just in the back of your mind, like, oh yeah, I know I have some loans, a couple $1,000s. And then you look it up and it's $30,000, $40,000, you know, and they set us up so that we are paying our loans for a period of, you know, 10 years most of the times. But so much of the money is going towards interest. So you have to look at it. You have to look to see how much you're paying towards interest. And you, like I said, you have to be real with yourself. If you're not real with yourself, it's gonna be hard to make changes. So look, take inventory, don't be discouraged, but let that motivate you to make the changes necessary to keep pushing. So tip number 3 is to make a budget. I know budget is not a cute word. It's not a word that's sexy. It's not a word that people are, you know, are throwing around left and right. No, there's nothing cute about a budget. The benefit of making a budget is you recognize your expenses versus how much you have, and you have to be intentional about it. So it's important to make a budget because you want to tell your money where to go before it even comes in. So you want to plan for your money before you even get paid. It's important because then when that paycheck comes and your coworker is like, oh, you know, there's a sale at the mall, let's go during our lunch break, you already know in your mind, like, man, like I already have a place for that extra money to go. You have to tell your money where to go, or it's gonna go wherever your desires are. And with that mentality, you can look up at the end of the year, have made a ton of money, and you have nothing to show for it because you never made your money work for you. So when it comes to creating a budget and a plan for your finances, you have to figure out what works best for you. I'm sure people have heard of Dave Ramsey if you are into personal finances, but he talks about the method of the snowball method. So that's the method that I have personally used. You write down all of your debts, you write down the interest rate, and you write down, you know, the amount of the entirety of that debt, that specific debt. So the snowball method is basically, let's say you have 3 different debts. So you're going to put everything extra that you have on that smallest amount of debt. You're going to attack the smallest amount first. Like, that's the benefit of making a budget. You know how much everything's going to cost. So when you have that extra money, you put it towards the debt. So when you pay off that smallest amount of debt, you roll that up to the next amount of debt. So you're taking that minimum payment that you were paying for the smallest debt, and you're also taking the additional money that you're paying towards that smaller debt and rolling it up to the medium-sized debt. So they call it the snowball because as you go higher and higher, it's more and more money. And it helps because you're getting a sense of momentum, and you are seeing more wins more quickly when you start attacking the lowest debt first. I know some people say that you should attack the thing with the highest interest rate, but that's just not the way that the snowball method works because you're more motivated by the small wins. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been doing great with it. It's been extremely motivating to me. So that's why it's important to have a budget and to have a plan. Like, any extra money I get, I roll it up onto my debt, period. But if I didn't have a plan for my money, I might see some extra money in my account and be like, oh, yes, I have, you know, $30 extra, I'm gonna go treat myself to whatever, but now I know where it's going. So if you're not familiar with the snowball method and you're interested, definitely look into it. I will link some information below regarding the snowball method. So another thing that I have done as a part of my budget and a part of my plan is operating in cash. I primarily use cash when it comes to making purchases. So my groceries and spending money. And a lot of times people think like, oh, because you're on a budget, you can't enjoy things, or you don't have the money to go out to eat, or if you want to go to Starbucks, you can account for it in your budget. You just call it spending money. I know some people call it fun money. I personally call it spending money. I take out my spending money in cash and my grocery money, and I operate primarily in cash. So that helps me because when the money is gone, it's gone. And that has been extremely helpful when it comes to budgeting. So you have to figure out what works for you. You know, let this be motivation for you to just figure out what works best for you, because that's what's going to motivate you to keep going, not doing what somebody else is doing exactly, but taking that and then putting your own twist on it and what works the best for you. So maybe personally you like to cook more. So in that regard, you might allocate a little bit more money to groceries, and maybe you'll allocate a little bit less to your spending money. You have to be flexible and do what works for you, but you have to really make a plan and a budget, or else your money is going to fall and slip through the cracks, and who knows where it's going to end up. So tip number 4 is very simple. After you make your budget, you might realize like, dang, I don't have a ton of money that I can put towards my debt. And that's okay. You know, everyone doesn't have a lot of extra income to roll up and put onto their debt. And that, I get it, okay? So in that regard, and in any instance, honestly, we have to focus on increasing our income and decreasing our expenses. So when you do make your budget, you might look at it and be like, this gotta go. So for me, something that left was getting my nails done. I got my nails done, I think every other week. And I was getting something that ended up being like $60. For me, I felt like that was working, but when I looked at my budget and I wrote it down, those nails had to go. So guess what? I paint my own nails, and right now they're not painted, but I'm planning to paint them later. I promise you, when you look at how much money you actually have and how much you're spending, cutting things out just makes the most sense. So I don't care. I'll do my own nails, whatever. But that's money that I'm saving. That's $120 a month that I can be putting towards my debt. It's important to decrease expenses. So that might even look like, you know, getting rid of some of those subscription services. Maybe you don't need all these different services. You know, are you actually utilizing them? You have to take an inventory of what are you actually using? What are you actually using? Like not what do you want to use? That gym membership, do you go to the gym? You got to ask yourself the tough question so that you're not wasting your money. Am I actually gonna go to the gym? Because you might be spending, let's say, $50 a month on a gym membership that you don't go to. So we have to be smarter with where we're investing our money. So if you are going to the gym and you're getting your money's worth, that's awesome, keep it. But you have to look at the inventory and see. So for me, I don't need my nails done. It's kind of a luxury. I'm not really there yet. And then when I think about what motivates me, financial freedom motivates me. So when I get to the point where I'm debt-free, I have great investment accounts and I'm living great and I've really gotten to the next level, yeah, maybe I'll start getting my nails done again. But that's what motivates me to keep going. I want to reach my goals. So that's why point number 1 is so important, because you have to have goals that will help you to justify why you're taking some things out of your budget. So when it comes to increasing your income, something that you can do is start a side hustle. It's not too late. If you want to start a YouTube channel, go for it. You know, I know a lot of times people pick up another job, whatever it takes you to help you reach your goals. You know, maybe you start freelancing and maybe you start consulting. There's so many opportunities. A lot of people pick up like part-time jobs. Another really big thing is lifestyle creep, and that's basically like when you get a raise or when you get more money, people tend to increase their quality of life. But if you have that mentality that, you know what, even if I got extra money or even if I got a nice tax return, I'm still going to live within my means. Think about ways that you can increase your income, and that will make paying off debt faster. So when you create your budget, you're maximizing what you have. Increasing your income is going to help you to have more so you can reach your goals faster. So tip number 5 is to educate yourself. You know, you have to take ownership of your knowledge base as an adult or a young adult or whatever. I don't know how old you are watching this video. You have to be accountable for how much you know at this point. You can't blame your parents for not telling you. You can't blame, you know, the school system for not educating you. At this point, today, what can we do to move forward in our knowledge and understanding? So I would recommend that you guys listen to podcasts. One that I really like is the His and Her Money podcast, and I will link them down below. They interview people all the time about different topics, and they always are interviewing people who have paid off their debt. So just hearing the way that different people have gone about it is really encouraging to me. You have to consume the content that is going to help get you where you want to go. Because if you're not consuming that content and you're not feeding yourself and motivating yourself, it's going to be hard to be focused, because your average person is kind of like just going through the motions, not necessarily the most intentional when it comes to their personal finance. That's fine. But if you're trying to do something a little bit different, you have to surround yourself with people who are kind of thinking on that level. So listening to podcasts is very helpful. I listen to the Total Money Makeover audiobook by Dave Ramsey. Now I will say he's a little abrasive in his message. He could be a little like, tough love type, but if you just kind of like ignore that and listen to what he's saying, it's really helpful. He talks a lot about the snowballing method. There's also the avalanche method. He talks a lot about financial freedom, like how to invest, all of that stuff. So I will also link that book down below. That was really helpful for me. But when it comes to educating ourselves, there's so much more to learn. I am just scratching the surface. I've gotten into personal finance this year and I've learned so much, and now I can have educated conversations with others. So it's important to educate yourself. If you have any question, then look into it. Like, what's the difference between an IRA and a 401k? Why should I put my money here versus there? What's the big deal about paying off student loans? Who cares? You know, we have to challenge the narratives that we are told that living for today is not the best decision. We have to be thinking about ourselves in our 50s and our 60s and our children and our children's children. We have to break the mold of what society is teaching us, because it's so easy to get a loan. It's so easy to get into debt, but it's not that many people talking about getting out of debt. So tip number 6 is to be accountable and remain consistent. Now, I will say it's easy to slip up. You might spend a little bit more than you have accounted for, or you might become discouraged, but don't give up, because nothing worth having comes easily. Financial freedom comes at a cost. There's so many times where I'm at the store and I might see something cute and it's like, you know what? It's not in my budget right now. And I have to walk away. But when I walk away, every time I turn something down, I become stronger. So be consistent, be accountable. I will also note that I tithe all of my increase, and that has been huge for me. So you have to think about what it is that you feel purpose to do. Like, money is so much more than buying things for ourselves. We want to be in a place where we can give to others in need and not expect anything back. I want to be able to bless my family. I want to be able to bless my future children, not with, you know, flashy gifts, but just with being stable. Well, I am on a financial freedom journey because of the stability that it is going to bring to me and to my family. I'm on a financial freedom journey because I don't like the feeling of giving interest away to banks and to student loans when that's the money that I could be keeping. All I'm trying to say is you can do it. Don't think that you don't make enough money to pay off debt. Don't think that you don't make enough money to be intentional about your finances. I've heard somebody say before that, oh, I don't need a budget. I don't make enough money to have a budget. But then when they made a budget, they realized they had money left over. They didn't realize how much they were spending frivolously. We gotta be able to look ourselves in our financial mirror and say, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? Why are you living like this? We gotta challenge ourselves, because this culture that we live in, they're encouraging us to buy more, spend more money, eat more food. You know, you don't arrive until you have all these different things. One thing that Dave Ramsey says is stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, because the Joneses are broke. You can never tell what somebody has from looking on the outside. So don't compare yourself. You might have clothes that you've been wearing for the past 5 years. You don't always need something brand new, okay? I think it's fun to splurge every once in a while. Don't get me wrong. I like a designer item every once in a while, but my whole mentality has shifted since I got real with myself and my finances. Anyways, I hope that this is encouraging to you. Never made a video like this on my channel before, so let me know down below if you found this to be encouraging, or if you have any questions, or if you would like me to make another video about this topic. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it because I just feel like there's so much opportunity for us to progress in this area. I know I have, and the amount of financial peace that I have been able to gain in the meantime is worth it. It's worth it. So I hope this encouraged you. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.